Good evening once again. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch UBC News Tonight with me, Sharon, Kyomugisha, Senyonga. We'll take a look at our top stories of the day. For the day, motorcycle riders, taxi operators flawed, and movement ban. Professor Kamuntu urges members of Parliament to deliver as per NRM manifesto. Women encouraged to embrace government programs. And in sports news, Indian women offer sponsorship to Kabaddi team. Welcome to UBC News Tonight once again. My name is Sharon, Kyomugisha Senyonga with Yusuf Senyomo on sign language. In our top stories of the day, border operators are using feeder roads to dodge checkpoints to ferry passengers who finally board taxis on either side of the districts for their final destinations. This is in total disregard of the ban on inter-district travel slapped by President Yoweri Museveni over the weekend. Details follow from Onyango.
Automobile operators continue to flout the inter-district travel ban imposed by government as a stop measure against COVID-19 infection. Between Kakerenge and Mile 11 along Kampala-Gulu Highway is a checkpoint between Luwero and Wakiso districts, with many passengers stranded. However, temporary taxi parks on either side of the road wait for those who manage to negotiate their ways across for onward transportation.
Okweberera muko muntu yeberera munengo obulwadde we buli kyekituufu.
Kirutwalire ssaawa nga 3 okufuna taxi obanga afunye abantu abajjula bagende. Kuba kati essaawa zino omusaabaze tumusaawo munyigiriza ateera. Omuga nti okuva wano paka Luweero tujja kuvugira sinsi 6 oba 5.
Ne bano boolaba abantu betutambuza sigamba nti baba baagala. Kizibu kimugwako bugwi. Era kati waliwo n'abamu abatudde wali. Sente zaali zibabuze naye yafunye chance n'afuna akasente najja ate kamugwereddeko mu kkubo olw'entambula.
Though the police manned red block intends to deny movements to non-authorized motorists on either side, border operators alternatively use the nearby feeder routes to ferry passengers who in the end board the waiting taxis.
Kati motoka za Luweero zibasuula wano. Ize Wakiso ne zibasuula wali Maaso wali Kakerenge. Kati abeerawo n'akasente nga bayisa wano emmanju we watu ku Bisenya wano bakomune basomoza wali waggulu eri ne batuuka.
Singa amalina by'okukola wano bujjo si wenkolera. Tuyisa buyisa wano bivvulu.
Tuliya mbeera era luyita 7 myere gye tuyitamu.
Located a few meters away from Mityana district is Myanzi, where a no-access zone was stationed by Uganda police to limit movement of passengers from Mityana, Kampala, parts of Mpigi and Kasanda districts. At Maya Trading Center along Massacre, Mpigi, Kampala Highway, non-authorized motorists and pedestrians were not allowed to go beyond the roadblock. But between me and you, this seems to be an illusion. As the non-adherence and compliance is continuing to be witnessed, this will either call for tougher actions or additional stringent guidelines. Robert Onyango, UBC News, Kampala Metropolitan.
Well, 17 years ago, the LRA rebels, commanded by Dominic Ongwen, massacred 28 people in Abok camp. The rebels also burned the camp, leaving several men and women, including children, severely injured, while others were maimed and left in deplorable condition. Some victims have since passed on, while others are still living miserably up to now. Local leaders say the victims have never been supported, even when the perpetrator, Dominic Ongwen, has been convicted by the ICC.
The memory of the Lord's resistance army insurgency on northern Uganda is still fresh in the victims' minds. Filda, a resident of Abok in Abok sub-county, Oyam district, saw her husband and son die in cold blood when the rebels attacked Abok IDB camp in 2004.
Adira ni komunika weka gama tin ento bandung po binu mi ongi na tin na yai kwene na duisha anda te makati na tin kita te chwal kwarne te gamu te tingo cha do charu peng ni ya eno chilo ka kana ko research ja mweni to tungien dang chilo gyo ko research du ja bichi du te ta ko do bu bar kana kare chen ana do bu.
After the incident, Filda, a peasant farmer, remained alone to take care of 11 other family members, which he says is overwhelming, and one of her daughters, who had just completed Senior 4, disappeared from home because she could not continue paying her school fees. Filda's story is not any different from Julius Peter Tim, whose father was also shot dead and burnt in the same attack and has been struggling to raise over 35 whose parents were killed. On the 8th June 2004, LRA rebels commanded by Dominic Ongwen attacked Abok camp, currently in Oyam district, and massacred over 28 people, burnt houses and left several maimed and others traumatized up to now on seeing their loved ones die in cold blood.
The name Mashiduogo started from here. The women around here were saying, Nafa is back because Kalengwala has come. So the name Mashiduogo started from here. And anything, even a house, even a tree, he has not even planted a tree here in memory of what has happened.
Phillips Ogila is the new chairperson of Abok sub-county, whose headquarters sits on the memorial site.
This place you are seeing was fully a camp. People were not rehabilitated here like in other places. Rehabilitation can be by words, can be by material forms, can be in any form. Recognition alone is a form of rehabilitation.
In other areas, like in Barlon and Abia Memorial Site, government has since built vocational schools, which is not the case in Abok.
People who testify in ICC court from here, some of them are not even victim families. My coming here and as a chairman has already started identifying those ones who are killed, the victim families. On record, they are fully neglected.
Local leaders, victims, and those who lost their loved ones are now pleading to the government of Uganda, ICC, and well-wishers to rush to their rescue.
People are traumatized, people are killing each other, people are HIV positive, people are so many. If Corona goes off, like in 2021, we are also calling you, Your Excellency, to come and also lay rough.
Every year, the community here would gather at the memorial site to pray not only for the souls of their innocent loved ones, but also to heal themselves psychologically.
People around here, they are traumatized. As a spiritual leader, we need to pray for them, to assist them, and the government should come in to build something that will help them to forget what had happened in the past.
Behind me is the monument that was constructed in 2016 in memory of the 28 people who were massacred here in Abok on the 8th of June 2004. But what is also painful is that the community here is yet waiting for any form of support from government and other well-wishers up to now. I'm Eddie Olwa, reporting for UBC News.
Thank you so much, Ejolowa. Now, Uganda has joined the rest of the world to mark the Day Against Child Labour under the theme Act Now to End Child Labours, with national celebrations held at Hotel Africana in Kampala District. Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, in partnership with International Labour Organization, Federation of Uganda Employers Federation, Food and Agricultural Organization, organized the event.
Uganda has this weekend joined the rest of the world to mark World Day Against Child Labour and the theme, Act Now to End Child Labour. This year's memorial comes at a time when children are out of school due to COVID-19, hence taking up temporary jobs.
Obliging them to leave school prematurely, or requiring them to attempt to combine school attendance with excessively long and heavy work.
The Assistant Director General Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Julio Antonio Bade, says child labor is on the increase.
An increase in 16 million more children aged 5 to 11 in child labor in 2020 compared with the 2016.
New estimates show that more than 2 million children in Uganda are involved in child labor.
We have seen the numbers. More than 2 million children are involved in child labor. 93% of them are found in the agriculture sector.
The Secretary General Central Organization of Free Trade Unions, Dr. Samuel Mochik, however, says that they are to involve parents in kicking out the habit of child labor out of the country.
We set it out. Supply chain, tobacco, those places. So we make sure that everybody knows that all of them understand. And then also sensitize the other players, the parents and the children in specific areas.
About 218 million children worldwide are employed in different institutions. 152 million are involved in child labor, while 73 million are working under hazardous circumstances worldwide. The Permanent Secretary, Minister of Gender, Labor and Social Development, Agri Chibenga, says the number of girls involved in child labor increased in the first total lockdown and could shoot up if not addressed.
And highlights the plight of children who are abused and used as child laborers, and for us to build concerted efforts to eradicate this vice.
However, he says as a ministry, they have come up with strategic measures aimed at stopping child labor.
The government of Uganda has committed itself by putting in place policies, laws, regulations, and guidelines that prohibit and protect children from child labor. My Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development has ratified and domesticated the ILO Fundamental Conventions on Elimination of Child Labor, namely Convention 138 of 1973 on the minimum age and Convention 182 of 1999 on the worst forms of child labor.
A 35-member National Steering Committee geared at eliminating child labor was commissioned and inaugurated to strengthen the campaign against child labor.
Honor and pleasure to declare that National Steering Committee on the elimination of child labor is commissioned on this very important day.
Ivan Joko, UBC.
Former Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Professor Ephraim Kamuntu, has urged members of Parliament to ensure that to fulfill the National Resistance Movement manifesto. The NRM manifesto chairperson believes this will allay fears of Ugandans and improve trust in government. Details follow.
With electioneering out of the way, National Resistance Movement Party's Manifesto Committee Chairperson Professor Ephraim Kamuntu is reminding legislators to walk the talk.
The function of a member of parliament is make laws on any matter. This is very important. Before you do anything, you must be very good at making laws on any matter for peace, development, and security, and good governance.
One of those who's taken up his advice is Vura County Legislator Yovan Adriko, who now promises to spearhead delivery of the NRM manifesto with focus on health, trade, social service provision, and economic empowerment.
The people of Vura, students and the people are very educated. They're very, very bright, but the challenge is one. So motivation is not there. I will appeal to the parents and the stakeholders to work together. To promote education. When we work together, it's easy to really improve the education standards.
In the manifesto, President Yoweri Museveni emphasizes the parish model of development as the way of ensuring service delivery, especially government funds, are received by the public.
Agriculture is the backbone in Uganda. Then the government is invest a lot of money aside of agriculture, wealth creation program, NARS, what NUSAF too. A lot of money has been dumped in agriculture. But if you go on the ground, there's no impact. Why? Poor self-delivery, lack of monitoring and supervision.
Moving on, God-led Club of Mukono has visited ailing Nelson Okoth at his grandmother's residence in Chisisi Village, Mpata Sub-County, Mukono District. The 9-year-old Okoth fell off a tree and sustained a life-threatening injury when a stick pierced through his stomach and exposed his intestines.
Even from a distance, it's clear that 9-year-old Nelson Okoth is in pain. The youngster fell off a tree and got a life-threatening injury when a stick ripped through his stomach, exposing the intestines.
And we are looking to be of assistance to people that have disabilities. And this young boy, Okoth, Nelson, had an accident. He fell from a tree 2 years ago. And as you can see, his intestines just exploded on the outside.
This left him writhing in pain and has taken generosity from God-led Club of Mukono to offer a ray of hope through a visitation to him, but importantly, a promise to help secure surgery.
We see this every day and our hearts are touched, our hearts are moved. And I want to call for everybody around the country and outside the country
who can be of help.
To this child. We can get together, work together, and see that this family is assisted.
Naye kati wano wali kiri so dangerous asobola okuyingira mu tetanus akantu konna ate kasobola omumufumitako.
Okoth's grandmother Mary Nyapende is grateful to God-led Club, which through ministering of the Word of God has reached out to several vulnerable people across the country.
Well, thank God for God-led Club for the tremendous changes they're making in society. In more stories, National Environment Management Authority has registered progress in restoring the ecosystem in the Alberta and Graben following all activities in the area. The Executive Director, NEMA, Dr. Tom Okurut, attributes the success of such restoration to compliance by all companies engaged in such activities. Details follow.
This is Kaisotonya, a road connecting the western district of Hoima to the oil wells recently drilled in the area. It is an activity whose operations were monitored by Uganda's national environment body, NEMA. For purposes of environmental conservation, restoration of the ecosystem was required by the respective companies.
And according to and certainly NEMA then, what they agreed was no waste should be able to stay in the park, in the protected area.
The drilled well is protected in a rectangular shaped enclosure. Its establishment saw operations conducted around a 100 by 100 feet land surface area. The said surface may have been bare at the time, but not now.
So it is from that topsoil where there is what? The seed bank. And it is based on those seed banks that the vegetation starts regenerating.
As required by environmental experts, the vegetation is fully recovered to the extent that one can hardly notice the original area of operation.
Yes, it could have even been better than this, but you know this is also a grazing area. Okay, so you see animals are grazing, the cattle are grazing here. So obviously it will take time to get back to the original state. See, if grazing is controlled, obviously the natural growth will be faster.
Similar to this success is one at Murchison Falls National Park. Wild animals are seen enjoying this locality without inconvenience from these oil wells whose establishment saw serious activities in the recent past. As expected, the ecosystem around the area have been restored owing to compliance by the concerned companies.
We had stories about Nigeria where oil has had everything has gone bad on the environment. So the fearmongers drove that one agenda. We didn't have the knowledge, the people were not, the capacity was not there. But now that campus has been built.
Total, when we deal with the issues of mitigation and following the regulations and guidelines put in place, and all the conditions approved in the certificates, they are compliant, they are good.
And we are very strict, restore using indigenous species, don't bring anything from outside, that have done it here.
Such ecological restoration progress is what National Environment Management Authority is looking at consolidating. This comes at a time the country has just joined the rest of the world to observe World Environment Day with focus on restoration of ecosystems. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Thank you so much, Henry Okrut. One of Uganda's oldest Catholic church, which is Bugonga Church in Entebbe, Wakiso district, has launched a campaign to reconstruct the Father's House to meet standards. This Father's House has become home to many prominent clergy, including the first Catholic missionaries to Uganda. Enjoy.
This is the Father's residence of Bugonga Catholic Church, which is among the oldest Catholic institutions in this country. Trouble for the establishment now is that the Father's residence is in a dilapidated state and in dire need of a reconstruct.
We have been planning for the inaugural fundraising on the 4th of July, but now because of the lockdown due to the pandemic, we are rethinking. Probably we shall do it after the lockdown is, easy.
This construction will be the first since inception of the establishment in 1902 and will house, among others, offices, visitors' lounge and library, but all this while maintaining original semblance.
It has been housing our priests for the last almost 100 years. As you can see, it is one of the historical features we have within Entebbe. We saw it for fit not to destroy the history of Entebbe, but rather to preserve it in a more modern way.
More than 330 million shillings is required to upgrade the Father's residence at Bugonga Church, a place where the first missionaries spent time under this tree before meeting the Kabaka of Buganda.
Unity of Faith has posthumously celebrated the 92nd birthday of their founder, Ruhanga Obushobozi Bisaka. The grand occasion was at the Bisaka's Palace at Kapieni in Kabaddi district.
Though not with the pomp that is synonymous with Unity of Faith followers, celebrations to mark the 92nd birthday of their founder, Ruhanga Obushobozi Bisaka, have been hosted. Graced by the heir to the throne, Akukwiziwe Bisaka, most of the speech focused on COVID-19 and how they must play a lead role of educating the public about its dangers.
Government kakubetekaho amateeka kandi tukalema tutahulirize nituba nitugitalibaniza abakoba gavumenti niwe omuzaire waitu.
The occasion was graced by Kabaddi Resident District Commissioner Lilian Rutera.
Twarakwasima abokura nokwetegereza nokumanya ngwendo aretereho kandi mukatwamu nito na government tukirema amani mukareba ngo ngoro waza kweka na nabakwenda abantu makumyabiri ngo kuterekeza.
Unity of Faith is a religious sect that has grown through the years and increased numbers spread throughout Uganda and some neighboring countries.
As the cryptocurrency sweeps across the globe in Uganda, stakeholders are calling for knowledge sharing to inform the public of the advantages of this new trend. Now, this and more stories will be coming up after this short commercial break.
Today in history.
Today marks 34 years since the Berlin speech that was organized by President Ronald Reagan, through which he delivered a statement to the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down the Berlin Wall in Brandenburg. It was on 12 June 1987 when the American President Ronald Reagan arrived in Berlin and were taken to the place where they viewed the wall from a balcony that was built to divide Germany. Later, after the speech, the wall came down partly because of the bureaucratic incidents, but it fell amid a wave of revolutions that left the Soviet-led communist bloc teetering on the brink of the collapse and helped define a new world order. Today in history.
In chess, the small one can become the big one. It's the same here. And here too. Watch every move. Record every number so you can plan better. No matter the size of your dream, tomorrow's success belongs to those who keep today's records clean. File your returns today.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we learn, because it's those things that bring us close together.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
You're still watching UBC News Tonight, and our business stories as the cryptocurrency wave sweeps across the globe. In Uganda, stakeholders are calling for knowledge sharing to inform the public of the advantages of this new trend. Uganda and Best Parallel Africa Life companies leading the way, but calls for partnership with government.
As the world evolves, all aspects of it, including currency, follow suit. The evolution of money can be traced through barter trade, cowrie shells, and now is destined for digitalization through the cryptocurrency.
Blockchain comes in to empower this, or to fasten such kind of revolution. So it's blockchain technology that now produce, or it gives birth to what you call cryptocurrencies or digital currencies. Currencies, that you know them, that have been evolving from barter trade, cow shells, and plastic money, electronic. So now I've reached the point whereby money is getting digitalized.
The main challenge a cryptocurrency faces is lack of an informed public whose opinion about the transformation is biased because of losses incurred through scammers.
If our government here as well could learn how to regulate and to go about these cryptos, the government would benefit and her citizens as well. The most challenging part has been knowledge, information. So we are open to advise and share knowledge with the government so that both the citizens and the government herself can be the most beneficiaries.
Now, embracing government programs is one of the avenues through which commercial farmers have been able to register economic success in northern Uganda. The regional coordinator Operation Wealth Creation at Chole Ecological Region, Brigadier Francis Achoka, says 50% of the targets have been met. It is for this reason that the women in the region are called upon to embrace Operation Creation programs.
This is Laro Peche, one of the divisions that make up the recently created Gulu City in northern Uganda. Among the renowned residents here is Lalam Pascal Oketa, a retired civil servant formerly working with Bank of Uganda. Despite being retired, she starts her day on a busy note, preoccupied with finding and preparing livestock feeds for these cows.
We are in a big group as dairy farmers, Gulu City dairy farmers. I had to pull our chairperson who didn't know where DDA is. I said, let's go to DDA. Let's talk to them. Let's get knowledge from them. I always want anybody near me to grow. Because if you have neighbors who are okay, you don't suffer so much. Where's the camera?
As she cuts this grass using this not so modern technology, she is aware of what it takes to become a successful dairy farmer.
First of all, I saw it from one lady, Joska Utawa. She's a clan sister. She's with the Gulu Women Dairy. I saw what it did to her. So I took interest in that and I had to learn from them. In fact, there's a lot I do. When I reach your farm, I will not come out empty. I make sure I pick something new, unique.
It is just a matter of time that soon she will turn waste into wealth. That is if plans to generate biogas power from this cow dung is anything to go by.
It is not something for the government. Something given to you is yours. I always tell them, I say, what has been given to you is your share of what you do, enjoy out of the government is a father.
What she's doing is not very different from what Rose Ola, another cattle farmer from the neighboring district of Kitgum, is doing. A former councillor for Muchweni in Kitgum municipality embraced the practice in 2017 and has since never looked back.
Operation Well Creation, they give me one bull of cow, which was now pregnant. So after 2018, she delivered a girl.
With the ability to earn 75,000 weekly and capacity to save 30,000 every Saturday, her livelihood has improved.
I pay with my school fees of my children. One is now in university, but of lockdown, she was going to finish it this year, this month. And one is in Senior 6, and one is in Tishon, Nakawa.
The venture has suffered some challenges, including livestock diseases. This, however, has not been to the extent of inability to manage, thanks to the district veterinary department.
Every 2 weeks, you have to give the treatment. You wash their house every morning, and you make the house to be clean.
What we always do is routine vaccination, which is timely. We do vaccination against foot and mouth disease annually. We do vaccination against CVPP annually. We do vaccination against blackwater annually. And then we keep on advising them to do weekly spraying of these animals against ectoparasite.
All this has been made possible with support from Operation Wealth Creation, a Ugandan government initiative for economic empowerment.
About 50% of what we have given have survived. This is mainly because of the practice, the cultural practice in this community.
With such progress, it is just high time that women, not just in northern Uganda, but across the country, embraced this program. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Thank you so much, Henry Okurut. In more news, Professor Augustine Nwagabo of Makerere University has described Uganda's just presented budget as an allocation that partially speaks to the needs of Ugandans. The economic lecturer offering a critical appreciation of the just presented budget, where 7.7 trillion Ugandan shillings was allocated for human capital development and 6.9 trillion to peace and security, giving to agriculture and small-scale enterprises a smaller fraction of the resource allocated. Details in this report.
Following the presentation of the financial year budget 2021-2022 by President Museveni as the substantive Minister of Finance, who delegated his newly appointed State Minister of Finance, Amos Lugorobi, to unpack it to the 11th Parliament, members of the diplomatic corps and the wider spectrum of Ugandans who are watching from their living rooms. Economic experts are expressing reservations about the practicability of the budget they are describing bulgy. The budget, which is now taking grounds, is estimated at 44.8 trillion shillings. Putting other factors, it is comprised of domestic revenue figured at 22,425 billion shillings, equivalent to 13.8%, and 20,837 billion tax revenue and 1.588 billion non-tax revenue. The unpacked budget indicates that 7.7 trillion shillings has been allocated to enhance human capital development with effect from July 1st, 2021, which is the beginning of the new financial year 2021-2022. While 6.9 trillion was allocated to activities aimed at securing a peaceful environment for economic growth and development. 7 billion shillings has been allocated to ensure standards for agriculture exports and 1.67 trillion allocated to support agro-industrialization initiatives. Professor Augustus Nwagaba is a financial consultant, says the allocations made to spur economic growth in the agriculture sector and small-medium enterprises is a drop of an ink in an ocean.
The budget, essentially, in my view, should speak to the needs of the people. So what are these needs? 76% of the population is in agriculture. About another good percentage is in SMEs, small and medium enterprises. But you find that the proportion of the budget that is going for agriculture is very small, is not commensurate with the people who are engaged in the agriculture sector.
The budget speech also indicates that National Medical Store's budget has been increased from 420.3 billion shillings this financial year to 600.3 billion next financial year 2021-22 to ensure adequate supply and delivery of essential medicines and health supplies. Nwagaba says this way of resource allocations puts government in dim lights where it's perceived of budgeting for a specific class of people other than the common Ugandans.
When you look at my village, you look at the school where I was educated, or you go to the hospital where our brothers and sisters and the parents are going, you don't find the medicine in the hospital. The school, the teachers are not there. At the health centers, the health workers are not there. And when you ask the reason, there is no salary, there is no medicine. We pay taxes. The people, other countries have people who pay taxes. But then sometimes you wonder, why should you continue paying the tax when the tax you pay is not commensurate with the services you get?
Uganda's debt soared to US dollars 17.96 billion as of 31st December 2020, which is equivalent to 49.8% of the gross domestic product. However, Professor Nwagaba holds the view that government should stop making expenditures on activities that do not make returns on the economy, a case in point, the bulging cost of public administration, and limit borrowing to investment in development activities.
To contract debt and debt and debt, it will really eat up. It will eat up your budget. It will create a situation in which you are not able to finance other services. How are you, where are you going to get, if you are able to collect 21 trillion shillings, out of the 21 trillion shillings, we are going to pay 38% of the entire budget, remember, to debt financing, paying the debts, servicing those debts. Where will we get money now for education, for health, for paying the nurses, doctors, the soldiers, the police, and so on? And then remaining with some money to again cater for other emergencies. Of course, when another emergency comes, we're going to borrow.
The budget provides for tax policy interventions which need to be implemented in the financial year 2021-22. And URA has to collect taxes amounting to 21 trillion shillings. However, with the COVID-19 plague and the lockdown on some businesses like schools and hotels, experts say this money is going to be hard to raise.
Collecting taxes is going to be very hard because when URA says it's going to collect 21 trillion shillings, they are the ones who know where they are going to get the money from. But as far as I can see, restaurants are closed. People are at home. We have a pandemic. We are going to borrow $1 billion from IMF to continue running. The entire tourism sector is shut down.
Development of integrated transport infrastructure and related services has also been allocated 5.1 trillion shillings and 1.1 trillion to development of energy infrastructure next financial year 2021-22. I'm Nafka Farida and Daniel Lugemwa in Kampala.
A carbon-neutral cargo plane is plying the route from Frankfurt, Germany and East China's Shanghai to reduce its carbon footprint and boost environmental sustainability by decreasing the use of jet fuel. Powered by sustainable aviation fuel, the Lufthansa cargo flight from Frankfurt to Shanghai is emissions-free, which sets it apart from other cargo aircraft that come with a costly environmental price tag. Achim Matrinka, Vice President of Lufthansa Cargo, is spearheading efforts in mitigating emissions from the company's global business. Unlike other fossil fuel alternatives, sustainable aviation fuel requires no modifications for planes to be able to fly with it. Lufthansa's cargo plane can be filled up with regular or sustainable fuel if the airport offers it. It's an expensive but greener alternative to traditional jet fuel. In this case, it's made from biowaste such as leftover cooking oil, but there's a reason all of the world's airlines aren't rushing to use sustainable fuel. Supply is limited and the cost can be 3 to 5 times higher. Tougher rules on emissions from flying have sent researchers looking into other sources for sustainable fuels. In a laboratory outside at Frankfurt, a new method known as power-to-liquid could produce jet fuel out of thin air. But power-to-liquid still remains largely a lab experiment. There could eventually be enough of it to power all of today's flights, but that is not expected in the near future. The Group of 7 richest democracies on Saturday sought to counter China's growing influence by offering developing nations an infrastructure plan that would rival President Xi Jinping's multi-trillion-dollar Belt and Road initiative. The G7, whose leaders are meeting in southwestern England and who discuss strategic competition with Beijing, have been searching for a coherent response to the growing assertiveness of Xi Jinping after China's surging economic and military rise over the past 40 years. U.S. President Joe Biden and other G7 leaders hope the plan known as the Build Back Better World B3W initiative will provide a transparent infrastructure partnership to help narrow the $40 trillion needed by developing nations by 2035, the White House said. China's Belt and Road Initiative is a multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure scheme that Xi Jinping launched in 2013, involving development and investment initiatives that would stretch from Asia to Europe and beyond. More than 100 countries have signed agreements with China to cooperate in the BRI project like railways, ports, highways and other infrastructure. Critics say Xi Jinping's plan to create a modern version of the Asian Silk Road trade route to link China with Asia, Europe and beyond is a vehicle for the expansion of communist China. Beijing says such doubts betray the imperial hangover of many Western powers that humiliated China for centuries. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has asked universities to invest in research and training that support Kenya's new competency-based curriculum. President Kenyatta, who spoke on Friday in Nairobi, where he awarded a charter to the Aga Khan University, Kenya, also urged universities to concentrate on producing graduates who can tackle global challenges and make the world a better place. The head of state reminded Kenyan universities to ensure that they offer quality education. At the same time, the president directed regulatory institutions in the education sector to execute their mandate fully in order to ensure the quality of university education is not compromised. On research, the president challenged universities to be at the forefront in providing solutions to emerging challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic. During the event, President Kenyatta also inaugurated the Aga Khan University's new Kenyan shillings 5 billion ultra-modern building. The building will be the university's main campus in Kenya, housing its graduate School of Media and Mass Communications, Medical College, School of Nursing and Midwifery, Institute for Human Development, as well as the Brain and Mind Institute, among other programs. His Highness the Aga Khan, who is the Chancellor of the Aga Khan University, addressed the occasion via video links, saying the awarding of the charter to AKU is a vote of confidence in the university. One of Uganda's newest sports, Kabaddi, has received a boost with the Indian Women Associations joining as sponsors to the ladies' senior national team. Now the women's national team is getting ready for several international friendly games across the continent, but this is entirely dependent on the COVID-19 situation. John Mansentema reports.
Uganda Kabaddi Federation has received a kit sponsorship boost valued at 10 million Uganda shillings from Indian Women Association to help the women's national team. The Indian Women Association family has assured a continued support towards this sport founded in India many years ago and now with targets of a global spread.
It's a game which originated from India. And it also becomes our objective to provide, as an association of the Indian origin, we feel the objective to support this game and popularize it in Uganda.
Kabaddi Federation General Secretary Edgar Mujuni takes time to explain basics about this sport that has attracted the youth in Uganda.
Kabaddi is played on a court of 10 by 13 meters with a center line in between. Each team has got 12 players. On 12 players, 7 start on court and 5 are substitutes. So the 7 we have got whom we call the raiders. Each raid is done for 30 seconds. And what is a raid? A raid is this: a raider goes on to raid. A raider goes to the opposite side, to the opponent side, to collect points, either by hand touch and escaping back to his half. The number of players, the number of opponents that he or she touches and is not caught from the other half, and those are the number of points that a team gets. And the 2 or 3 or 1 player whom are being touched, they go back outside for him. So each half is played for 20 minutes and each full game is played for 40 minutes. That is Kabaddi.
Plans by the Federation are to target education institutions to lay a foundation for the sport across the country. John Barnes, Sentamo, reporting.
That's all we had for you at 10 p.m. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch UBC News tonight. My name is Sharon Kyomugisha with Yusuf on sign language. Have a good night from the team and I.
With your weather forecast. There is a reduction in the amount of rainfall received lately, though some part of the northern and the eastern are still having slight rainfall. This is due to the rainbow that shifted far north of our country, enhancing the wet activities in the northern and the eastern part of our region. Tomorrow morning, though, we expect to wake up with sunny intervals in most parts of our country, apart from some few areas in the Lake Victoria. They expect to have light showers. After an hour, we expect a pick-up of light showers across the northern part of our region and towards the eastern, but the rest of the country, most especially the southern, is going to continue with sunny intervals. Temperature raise up to 32 degrees Celsius across Kasese, that is pretty with that side, but the northern part of our country is having 31 degrees Celsius. Across Kampala, we are forecasting 28 degrees Celsius. Kabale Highlands with the lowest of 25 degrees Celsius. You is traveling around the globe, we are forecasting sunny conditions across Nairobi, Dubai, New York and London, with light showers across Moscow with a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius. Pretty hot though across Dubai, so stay warned. Mary Kutesa with today's weather forecast. Please see you tomorrow.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Hello, I'm John Russell. Today, let's go into greater detail